Chapter 68 to 70. For 3 consecutive days, Yuto seldom ventured outside. Being a freelancer has its perks. Even if he disappears for a while, no one would suspect anything, with countless excuses at his disposal: healing, ambushes, intelligence gathering. He had been in his underground base observing and recording, studying the piece of crimson skin. His stem cells, after devouring the concentrated essence of the Hyuga bloodline, had undergone such an exaggerated transformation. The smooth edges revealed a rough texture when observed at the cellular level. Over 3 days, the skin fragment did not grow any larger, and the Hyuga bloodline essence in the large Petri dish did not change in quality either. The secondary development of the cells had concluded. Realizing this, Yuto took out the oval piece of skin. He weighed the remaining bloodline material and found that about half was left. The corpses of 4 Chunin and 1 Jonin are only enough to feed 2 pieces of this stuff. He roughly calculated, then activated his Byakugan. In the gray-black world, the skin piece appeared as a mass of chaos. His vision couldn't penetrate the mere 1 millimeter's thickness of the skin. Yuto was not alarmed, but delighted. Next, he used various medical ninja techniques to repeatedly test the skin, and after confirming it was non-toxic, he carefully held it in his hand. It felt cool, very light and smooth, like a piece of peeled-off skin. He stared at the red oval skin in his palm. The meticulous effort to cultivate this thing was completely beyond his expectations. Whether it was the fragmented biological knowledge he had seen before transmigrating or the medical ninjutsu taught by Tsunade in this life, told him that, in vitro, stem cell culture should not have resulted in this. His original plan was to transplant the redeveloped cells back into his body, to awaken the deeply hidden Otsutsuki bloodline through repeated cycles. However, it was evident that this oval piece of red skin was not suitable for transplantation. He admitted his understanding of chakra was still shallow. In any world, once superpowers were involved, experimental results tended to lean towards uncontrollable unknowns. But the facts were before him, and Yuto had no choice but to accept and overturn his initial assumptions. In the silent underground chamber, the youth rubbed the skin, pondering what could have caused this. In the past, someone from the Kekkei Genkai families must have conducted experiments to purify their bloodlines, right? The Hyuga clan had existed for over 1,000 years, and he couldn't believe not a single scientifically inclined and curious clan member had tried it. Yet the Hyuga clan was still in decline, having produced no world-changing geniuses in years, suggesting that bloodline reversion, even if theoretically sound, wasn't feasible by conventional methods. Yuto had actually tried it with a mindset of giving it a shot. If it didn't work, he had other methods, like taking a big risk to steal Hashirama's cells, which were known to be a cheat code in the Naruto World, though it came with a high risk of death. However, his cells had undergone significant shape and characteristic changes during in vitro culture, which was rare enough to leave him stunned, unable to determine the cause of such mutation. The steps for Hyuga blood essence was simple: extracting the essence of their blood, flesh, and bones to create a bloodline crystal, serving as nourishment for the cell's redevelopment. So, was it due to the raw materials? His cells. Yuto touched his chest, remembering that he was a transmigrator, his biggest secret. But aside from the advantage of knowing the plot, being a transmigrator hadn't brought any other benefits. His talents were decent, but not outstanding, likely not even surpassing Neji Hyuga, who would be born years later. If there was something different from the natives, it must be hidden deeper, like the soul. Chakra is a supernatural energy formed by the fusion of physical and spiritual energies. If spiritual energy could be broadly categorized as soul, then he indeed differed fundamentally from other shinobi, though drawing such a conclusion required extensive comparative experiments. Yuto shook his head to stop overthinking. He was a pragmatist, not one to get stuck in the dead end of exploring principles and processes. Since the cells had undergone a pleasing change, he would accept it and leave further considerations for later. So now the key was how to use it. Yuto lightly weighed the skin. Swallow it raw? Stick it on a ninja tool? Imbue it with magic or something? He pondered for a while and suddenly realized that the piece looked very familiar. The color, size, and shape. An inspiration struck him. He took off his forehead protector and pressed the red skin onto his forehead. This posture was very similar to that of Kaguya Otsutsuki when she awakened the Rinne Sharingan. Like an ancient machine fitted with the most crucial gear, the incomplete body named Hyuga branch family came back to life at that moment. The red skin underwent a peculiar wave, like water poured into a lake, disappearing into Yuto's forehead. Chakra began to reconstruct, a new power forming within him, far surpassing his original strength, like comparing lead to cotton. It was a power vastly superior to the Byakugan. At this moment, the caged bird seal on his forehead disappeared, and the sealed 1-degree vision returned. The curse mark, perfected over millennia by the Hyuga main family, was completely suppressed by the overwhelming ocular power. Yuto trembled, touching his forehead like a bird finally breaking out of its cage. Freedom, dignity, and the sense of security from having control over his own life made him so elated he couldn't think straight. I will be reborn in this world with a new form. My soul returns to me, no longer imprisoned by the caged bird seal. However, this joy of regained freedom did not last long. At a certain moment, the red oval skin fell from Yuto's forehead, landing on the ground like a lifeless paper scrap, devoid of its miraculous power. The caged bird seal returned to him, and the newfound power vanished. A slave imprisoned for 10 years had only breathed fresh air for 3 minutes. Yuto, looking almost crazed, picked up the skin and pressed it hard against his forehead, even until his skin bled, but it had no effect. At some point, the underground chamber returned to its usual tranquility. Yuto lay on the ground, closing his eyes without sorrow or joy. In his hand was a piece of red skin that had lost its mystical power. It was the glass slipper of Cinderella, also known as the God's Mask. Yuto-kun, I'm leaving. It's up to you here. Ha. Minato Namikaze's golden hair shone brilliantly under the sun, making him look even more heroic in his battle gear. Please don't tease me, Minato-senpai. Yuto was dressed the same as usual. His right arm wrapped in black bandages, a white wide-sleeved robe draped over a dark green vest. I'm just a small free agent here. We still have Lord Orochimaru. Sometimes too much humility isn't a good thing. Minato patted the branch family's young shinobi on the shoulder. We tallied the battle achievements a few days ago. You've made so many contributions over the past few months that it scared even me. On the battlefield, when enemies hear the name Lone Lion, they tremble. Yuto shook his head. I'm still far from matching the famous Yellow Flash. Ha. So work even harder, Yuto-kun. I hope to hear about the lion even when I'm fighting the Iwagakure forces in the Land of Rain. Minato-senpai, I'll do my best. After exchanging a few more words, Minato Namikaze used the Flying Thunder God technique to vanish. Yuto looked towards the Land of Rain, the sound of cicadas ringing in his ears, then turned around and walked out of the camp under the respectful gazes of many Konoha shinobi. It was now summer, and Yuto had been on this chaotic battlefield among Konoha, Kumogakure, and Kirigakure for 4 months. 4 months and over 100 battles of various sizes. The name Lone Lion had spread throughout the major shinobi nations. The black bandages and the slightly handsome face, the roaring lion-like ninjutsu. At just 13, Yuto had become a rising star on the battlefield, a key figure in Konoha's propaganda, and was recognized as one of the outstanding young talents of the Land of Fire. Although he couldn't compare to the Yellow Flash, the name Lone Lion was still quite prominent. At least on the enemy shinobi villages and bounty stations' target lists, the bounty for Lone Lion Yuto Hyuga had reached 45 million ryo, higher than the 12 guardian ninja of the Land of Fire. However, as Yuto's reputation soared, the world grew even more turbulent. Iwagakure and Tsunagakure seemed unsatisfied with their solo battles and dragged Konoha into the fray. The three sides had already skirmished several times in the Land of Rain, and a full-scale war seemed imminent. Due to the immense pressure from the third Tsuchikage Onoki, Hiruzen had also dispatched Minato. Before leaving, Yuto, seen as one of Minato's trusted subordinates, naturally came to bid farewell. After saying goodbye to Minato, Yuto once again left the camp. He had grown adept at moving alone, mastering skills like concealing his presence, luring enemies, and making quick escapes. These abilities were now ingrained in his body like instincts. Of course, these skills were acquired at the cost of painful lessons from ambushes. Yuto's long list of achievements was soaked in blood, both his and others. After winding through the area, he returned to his underground secret base. In a large tank, the body of Shinosuke Hyuga still soaked. It was the only main family body Yuto had obtained, which might still be useful, so he hadn't squeezed it dry. As for the other Hyuga clan members he had captured over the months, they had all been turned into nutrients for cell cultivation to create the God's Mask. Even in wartime, Hyuga bodies were hard to come by. Yuto knew that after Shinosuke and his guardians disappeared, the main family and the village had become vigilant. Any lone Byakugan user could be a trap, waiting for him to take the bait. So he remained cautious, occasionally going out for hunting. After necessary tests, Yuto now had only 2 God's Masks. Creating one God's Mask required at least 1 Jonin or 4 Chunin, and Yuto could only temporarily gain powerful ocular abilities for a short 3 minutes by merging with a mask. Moreover, through external reproduction of other Hyuga cells, he confirmed his suspicion that as a transmigrator, his cells uniquely underwent complete-level transcendence to form the God's Mask. The mask was the key to supplementing his bloodline defect, but it was clearly not a complete key, as it couldn't be maintained for long. In the 3-minute duration, his eyes transformed, and the chakra refined by his body became vastly different. He aptly named this state Mask Mode in true Naruto fashion. But once the time elapsed and the ki was exhausted, he reverted to being a caged bird. Creating a stable ki required other components, and finding those components necessitated the 3-minute Mask Mode. Thus, he continued his journey of collecting corpses. Despite everything, Yuto was content with his current situation. At least his goals were clear, and he had a trump card up his sleeve. 3 minutes of power was quite substantial. After all, the Sage Mode of Mount Myoboku only lasted a few minutes. Walking along the path was reassuring, especially since today Yuto intended to take another significant step forward. He spent 2 hours in the underground base, finishing his meditation training by dusk. Yuto discarded his clothes, changed into a gray-black robe, and used the transformation jutsu to maintain the appearance of an adult male. Finally, he donned a fearsome mask and surfaced. Skillfully maneuvering through the mountains, he arrived at a valley, making hand signs in front of a special marker. The underground door opened again, revealing the bounty station's branch in the Land of Hot Water. Led by an attendant, Yuto delved deeper underground to a hidden stone chamber. "Please state your name and key, sir." A woman in a rat-faced mask appeared. Bounty station attendants all dressed like this. "Aizen Sosuke." "Aizen Sosuke-sama." After verifying his identity, the woman respectfully asked, "How may I assist you today?" "I'm here to exchange something." "Very well, sir. May I see the item?" "Though I'm not a shinobi, I can provide a preliminary evaluation based on my training." "All right." Yuto nodded and took out a glass jar filled with preservative solution. Oh? A human organ? No problem. This kind of... The rat-faced woman's voice abruptly stopped, as if something had gripped her throat. She looked up sharply, her eyes filled with unprecedented reverence and fear, staring at the man in the demonic mask opposite her. In the small glass jar, a pure white eye floated in the preservative liquid. The Bounty Station's long history can be traced back to the Warring States period. The darkness and greed in people's hearts nourished this underground flower. Bathed in blood and money, the Bounty Station grew, with its complex network and intelligence points extending to every country in the world. Secretly, it was even called the Great Nation Without Land. Yet, despite its power, the Bounty Station's transaction records did not include any cases involving the Byakugan. Although the Hyuga clan is not as powerful as the Senju or Uchiha clans, it has been a prestigious family for thousands of years. From ancient times to the present, it has rarely fallen out of the top tier of shinobi clans. The clan guarantees Jonin-level experts who, if they all mobilized, could destroy a small country. Even now, as their influence wanes, the Hyuga are still formidable. Additionally, with Konoha's protection, seizing the Byakugan is like stirring a hornet's nest. Provoking the Hyuga is a very troublesome matter. Moreover, due to the branch family's self-destruction mechanism and the main family's bloodline guards, obtaining a complete Byakugan is extremely difficult. Obtaining one is already tough, and selling it to the Bounty Station is even rarer. Risking great danger to extract a Byakugan and not implanting it into oneself, but rather exchanging it for money, is almost unthinkable for shinobi who crave power. However, today, this unprecedented transaction appeared at the branch of the Bounty Station in the Land of Hot Water, in the deepest underground chamber of the Land of Hot Water's Bounty Station. A bald man with a tattoo on his face took a sip of hot tea, looking at the man opposite him, who wore an Oni mask. He respectfully said, "Aizen Sosuke-sama, I am the person in charge here. You can call me Viper." "Viper?" Yuto replied. "So, you're the one negotiating this deal with me?" "Yes, sir. You are our esteemed customer." Yuto sneered, placing his hands behind his head and leaning back. It was a very relaxed and comfortable posture, but to Viper, it was a testament to this man's overwhelming strength. Even in such an awkward position, the man named Aizen Sosuke exuded a powerful confidence. Viper took a deep breath and placed a small glass bottle on the table. "Sir, the item you brought has been authenticated. It is indeed a genuine Byakugan, with no signs of sealing and in excellent condition." Yuto responded indifferently. "Do you dare to take it?" "Sir, you jest. Our Bounty Station would sell our lives for the right price." Viper chuckled, continuing, "This kind of rare organ of a Kekkei Genkai is always in high demand. My estimate is 1.2 billion ryo. The average bounty for a Konoha Jonin is about 30 million ryo. The price of 4 Jonin's deaths is enough to fund a raid on a small country. Implanting the Byakugan grants a 360-degree field of vision and X-ray vision. Properly preserved, it can be used for many generations. Whether for reconnaissance or protection, it is highly useful. Coupled with its priceless nature, it indeed is worth the price. My offer is fair and it's my limit," Viper thought. The mysterious man opposite him, a fierce individual daring enough to extract a Byakugan, had a reputation for being as ruthless as a viper and as venomous as a spider. Viper did not dare provoke such a formidable character, nor did he dare to pull any tricks to lower the price. "Huh." Yuto gently tapped the Oni mask's horn, producing a dull thud. In the silent underground chamber, the sound was exceptionally clear. Viper felt as if the man wasn't tapping the mask, but using his finger to dig out his heart. Too much money is just a number. Yuto suddenly spoke. "Let's barter." "Of course, Aizen Sosuke-sama." Viper exhaled in relief. What do you need? I'm quite interested in that hard-boned clan. Yuto's tone was casual, as if discussing dinner plans. I want 2 live members of the Kaguya clan, awakened with the Shikotsumyaku. Viper closed his eyes. Exchanging Byakugan for Shikotsumyaku was a reasonable trade, not too difficult. However, obtaining them alive. The bounty station did have the capability to accomplish this. The Kaguya clan was strong, but it was a time of chaos, offering many opportunities. However, absolute caution was necessary to avoid exposing the bounty station as the mastermind and becoming a target of Kirigakure's wrath. To mobilize resources of this level, Viper's rank wasn't sufficient. Aizen Sosuke-sama, the bald man deliberated. I need to report to headquarters. Can you wait? Within 2 days. No. I'll give you an answer within a day. All right, Yuto responded softly. As he stood up under Viper's respectful gaze, he suddenly stopped before leaving the chamber. Keep your mouth shut. Viper smiled obsequiously. Aizen Sosuke-sama, rest assured, this matter will remain absolutely confidential. At least in the land of hot water, no one but us will know. If the secret gets out, you can take my head. Exchanging Byakugan for Shikotsumyaku, a scheme that offends 2 great nations, must indeed be handled with utmost caution. Yuto nodded, seemingly approving Viper's shrewdness. Yuto left the underground chamber, walking for several kilometers before checking his surroundings with the Byakugan and changing his clothes. He did not dispel the transformation technique, but changed his appearance and voice entirely. He walked further, without a set direction, casually strolling until he reached a town. The land of hot water was a famous country, renowned for its hot springs. Despite the ongoing war, the town's residents lived relatively well, certainly better than those in the land of rain. Yuto found a tavern and sat inside, quietly observing the street. Finally, as the sun was about to set, he saw a caravan. In the shinobi world, there were no railways crossing the wilderness. Cities were relatively isolated from each other, and these traveling caravans played a significant role in transmitting news and information. If the land is the body, the roads are blood vessels, and the cities are organs, then these traveling merchants are the nervous system transmitting information. Many street rumors, when heard by those who know the truth, are like thunder from a clear sky. More importantly, information from the bottom up can never reveal its source. For both the instigator and the transmitter, this was the safest way. In the caravan, a few children were happily playing, innocent and carefree. Yuto bought a bag of candies and called the children over. What were you singing just now? It's the goose song. We learned it in that city to the west. The children, enticed by the candies, let down their guard and answered while sniffing. Oh, the goose song. Yuto patted the child's head. How about I teach you a new song? You can sing it in other cities and make others envious. Sure, learning a new song means we can exchange it with other kids, haha. Exchange and sharing, such a good thing. Yuto smiled warmly. He cleared his throat and softly hummed, white eyes, hard bones,